Today we have the illustrious Mike Stagg here to talk to us about spring into safety. And boy, it seemed like the winter went on a long time this year. And suddenly we've gone from snow and ice and cold to 80, 90 degree temperatures around the state. And wow, it's spring. What can we do to avoid the challenges with that, Mike?
Well, I think it's just being aware, right? Being aware of the season that we're coming into, and realizing that risks are going to change with this changing of the seasons. For the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, for a lot of us, it seemed like 8 or 9 months. We've been cold and it's been snowing, and there's just been a huge shift now, just in the last few days on temperatures and visibilities and the sun. I mean, it's just a huge change. So as the seasons change, your risks are going to change because you're going to be doing things differently, and you have different things that you're doing. Every year here at the Trust, we see a seasonal accident spike here at right about this time of year. Where we're getting out more, we're getting out into maintenance of parks and streets and curbing and sidewalks and things that we haven't had a chance to tackle because they've been under snow, or it's been too cold to get outside and actually get stuff done. So now we need to be aware and prepare of each of these different risks that are associated with this changing of the seasons. As activity changes, the risks that we're doing are going to change, right? We move from shoveling sidewalks and pushing snow with the snow plows to maintaining bushes and trees, and to mowing parks, and to checking playground equipment and raking baseball fields and things like that. So our activities are going to change as we move out of this long winter that we've had into this glorious spring that's going on right now. And along with that comes temperature changes, right? It's been cold. This was a long, harsh winter. And now we're really starting to warm up, and those temperature changes bring about new risks that we have to be aware of. The length of the day is changing, right? So today when you're driving into work, it's much different than when you were driving into work a couple of months ago. When you're driving into work a couple of months ago, especially before daylight savings time ended, or started, whatever it is, that you were probably driving in and it was dark at night. You were using your headlights to get into work. There was no sun shining in your eyes. But now as you're driving into work, especially if you're driving eastbound, that sun is coming and peeking right up over the mountains. The angle of the sun has really changed comparatively to where it was in the wintertime, right? And that is something to be aware of as we're working and driving into work or to our job sites. Our daylight hours are getting longer, right? So it's light earlier in the morning and it's staying light later at night. So maybe when we're driving home now, if we going westbound, we don't have the sun nearly as blaring in our eyes as it was when we were driving home in the wintertime. So there's just some subtle differences as we move into the springtime. One of the things that we'd like you to be aware of is just car preparation, right? One of the first things we talk about in defensive driving is being prepared to drive, right? And that means you have everything ready so that when you put that car in gear and put your foot on the accelerator, that you're ready to go. One of the things that you can want to look at this season as the seasons are changing is your windshield wipers. Make sure you have good windshield wipers on your vehicle. Make sure you have a full tank of washer fluid. There are lots of bugs this time of year. If any of you have ever driven out of near the Great Salt Lake on Legacy Highway, for example, at any time during the late afternoon when you're driving home from work, there's bugs all over the place. It's just covered. So make sure you have a full windshield washer fluid so you can, you get that bug juice off of your window so you can clear the way and you can see. One of the other things that's really noteworthy is the inside of your windshield. All winter long, it's been cold. We've been using the heaters and we've been using the defroster to make sure our windows don't fog up in the wintertime. Well, when we do that, that tends to put a lot of grime and a lot a lot of dust and things like that on the inside of your windshield. If any of you were driving into work today and you were headed eastbound as the sun's poking up over the mountains, and your windshield, the inside of your windshield might be a little bit dirty, you might have a picture that looks like the one on your left-hand side. The sun is really just amplifying that grime that's on the inside of your windshield. So one of the things we'd like you to do, whether that's today, right after this, whether that's tomorrow, whether that's sometime this week, is take some windshield, some window cleaner and clean out the inside of that of your vehicle. Clean out the inside windshield of that vehicle. I can guarantee you, you're going to notice a stark difference. You take one wipe of that windshield or that window cleaner, and then do a comparative between the side that you just wiped and the side you haven't, and you'll see a stark difference. So I'll challenge you to maybe take that into consideration, is that the inside of your windshield, especially after a long, harsh winter like we've had, it's probably all grimy and gross. Let's get that washed off today. Take some personal responsibility though. Wear sunglasses. For me, I have really light colored eyes. This is bad news for me, right? The sun just burns my eyeballs. So make sure you have a good pair of sunglasses that you wear when you're driving in your vehicle, just so you can see and everything is clear to you as you're going. If at any time though, you're in a picture like you see on the left, the sun is just blaring right down in your face, stop, pull over to the side of the road, turn your hazard flashers on, and get yourself ready to go. If that means pulling down the visor, do that. Finding and putting on your sunglasses, do that. If that means changing where you or the way you get to somewhere, do that. If you have to travel a little bit farther north or south and make a couple more safe right-hand turns in order to make it where you were going, rather than a straight eastbound direction or westbound direction, if the sun's in your eyes, do that. Make it a priority that you take the easiest and best and safest way to where you need to get to. Okay, so water. Let's talk about water just for a minute. Spring rainstorms are a huge thing here in the state, right? We get these pop-up thunderstorms that happen all the time here in the spring. It could be nice and sunny outside, then all of a sudden the clouds roll in and it just downpours for 5, 10, 15 minutes. We have that. That happens. And when that happens, standing water becomes a huge thing on our roadways, making yourself aware that these things are happening. Now, this year we've got a really interesting event happening right now with the storm runoff and snow melt. We've got, I think Jason said this morning he was listening to a hydrologist say that there's still 82% of the water that is stored in the snow is still up in the mountains right now. We've only melted off about 18% of what is to come. So that's a really stark reality. When you look at some of the flooding and some of the things that are going on right now, I have a buddy who lives up Ogden Canyon with the Ogden River running through his backyard, and it's almost totally washed out his backyard already. And we're still just beginning this. Okay. So now we could do a whole webinar series on this storm runoff and snow melt for this year. So really what we want you to be aware of here of this storm runoff and snow melt is just be aware that it's here and that it's coming. Right? It's coming even more than what we have now. So planning your trips wisely, planning where you're going to go. If you're been tasked to go out and sandbag, okay, knowing that you're asked to sandbag for a specific reason, and that's because of this storm runoff and the snow melt that's coming. And at any time, that creek or that river could turn into a raging wall of water. So just being aware of your surroundings and where you're at. All right, what about piping and valves? Is there any damage that's happened when we shut off the piping and the valves, shut off our secondary water systems last year before the winter happened, and now we're going to recharge that and turn those back on? Is everything pressurized correctly? Are all our valves working okay? Are we going to make sure that we don't backflow into the sewer system? Okay, just making sure that all your piping and your valves and everything is all up to snuff and everything's okay. Your sprinkler systems, taking a look at your sprinkler system. That was my weekend this last week, was going through and starting up my sprinkler system, finally had the water turned on. So was able to go out and turn on my sprinkler systems for the first time. I wasn't running them, just starting it up and seeing if I needed to replace any sprinkler heads or had any damage, had any water spouting out somewhere, had a geyser flying up out of my yard. And thankfully, I don't have very much to deal with this spring. I've got a few heads that need to be replaced, but I wouldn't know that if I had got out there and done some pre-testing to make sure it was ready to go. Now, some of you may already done these things, and that's great, because as you all know, if there's a broken sprinkler head at one of your parks, you can guarantee a resident's giving you guys a call saying, you got a broken sprinkler head out here, because it happens, right? Or there's a geyser shooting up on 3rd West. Okay, you're going to get those phone calls. Now let's take some steps to mitigate those calls, to make sure that we're being the best stewards of our water resources that we can. One of the best things we can do here in the springtime as seasons are changing is look at our yearly preventative maintenance around our life safety devices. Things like smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors, making sure that the batteries are good in those things, that they're still functioning, that the alarms function like they should. So take a look at those in the different buildings that you have responsibility for, making sure that they're ready to go in case of an emergency. Also, take a look at your emergency action plans and your fire protection plans, making sure that those plans are still good, that they're still in place, and that you're aware of the different protocols to follow. Now, the OSHA requirement is that with your emergency action plan, you have to go through it upon first hire, and then upon if your job ever changes. What we recommend here at the Trust just as a great best practice is those emergency action plans are run through at least annually, right? Some of you may have been working at your current position for 5, 10, 15, 30 years maybe. And how many times have you actually looked at your emergency action plan? You would know what to do if your coworker has a heart attack. You would know what to do if there's a fire in the building, okay? So those are things that you want to make sure that you're aware of. So some good training opportunities this spring as we move into the spring is to take a look at your emergency action plans. Take a look at your fire protection plans. This is a good, great safety short that you can run, your safety moment that you could do before your, at the start of every week or before every shift or whatever it is. Take 5 minutes, run through your emergency action plan, run through your fire protection plan. Make sure the contacts there are all still working at your place of business. Has somebody moved, got promoted, somebody not working there anymore? Okay, let's take a look at those and make sure they're all ready to go. Also, look at your first aid and CPR trainings. Most of those are good for a year, maybe 2. So now's a great time to look at CPR and first aid training. Do you need to redo that? Do you need to check your first aid CPR certification and make sure that your certifications are current for this upcoming year? Okay, what about your equipment? Take a look at your equipment and make sure it's been maintained over the winter time. Now, many of us, we just, the summertime ends, we're getting into fall, we've done our last mow of the season, and we go and we put the lawnmower in the shed, and now we got to go. Now we notice that the lawn needs to be mowed, the grass needs to be mowed. We need to get the lawnmower out. Okay, has it been maintained all winter? Does it have old gas sitting in the gas tank? So now that when you start that up, it's gonna clog up your carburetor, and you're not going to be able to start that effectively. Okay, what do we got to do? Do we got to empty the glass? Do we got to get the gas out, replace it with new gas? We got to make sure our guards are all in place, making sure that the equipment is safe and ready to go. All the safety features are good, so that we can make sure that we stay safe. Do you know how to use that equipment safely? Did your manager, did the city manager, did the district CEO get you some new equipment to use at this time of year? Did you buy a new lawnmower? Did you buy a new weed whacker? Do you have a new chainsaw that you need to test out and make sure that you know how to use? Okay, make sure you know how to safely use your equipment. Do you have any kind of training that's needed? Maybe you're a vet and you know these things. You've been on that piece of equipment 100,000 times, and so you know that equipment better than the manufacturer does. That's fantastic. What about the new guy though? Does he know it? Does he know how to use that equipment? Does you put a guy on the riding lawnmower right at the end of summer, and now you're expecting that same person to get out there and just know how to work that machine with only having run it 1 or 2 times? Okay, so you may need to do a little bit of training on your different pieces of equipment. Look at your power tools. Take a look at those power tools and check out their conditions. Some of these tools we haven't used in months because it's been sitting away. We haven't needed to, right? But now we're going out, we're checking our bleachers at our baseball fields, and we notice, oh boy, we got some issues here. We gotta do some work. So now we're going to go get out our power tools. We go grab the bench grind. We go grab the hand grinder, and we notice, oh, we got a wheel on here that probably needs to be changed out. Let's change that out. We don't have a guard on here. Can we replace that guard? If we can't find the guard, replace the machine, replace the tool. Okay, make sure that your tools, your power tools, they're all in good condition. They've been repaired. The batteries, if they're battery powered, that the batteries are all in good repair, that they will hold a charge. Making sure that if it's a corded tool, that the electrical cord was put away nicely, that it's not frayed or broken, or the prongs are in good repair. Take a look at each and do a really, really good inventory of your power tools and your different pieces of equipment, just to make sure that the guards are in place, they were all stored correctly, and they're all safe for you to get out there and use again. Okay. What about your personal protective equipment? Are you in the practice of wearing the correct type of PPE? Like for weed whacking, for example, right? You're going to go out and you're going to weed whack today. It's going to be 85, 90 degrees today. That's hot, right? You want to wear that short sleeve shirt. You want to wear the shorts because you've been cooped up and you got to get some color on your clear skin like I have. And you want to make sure that you're going to be protected, okay? Wearing long pants when you're weed whacking is definitely a best practice. You should have long pants on when you're doing weed whacking. You should have on protective gloves. You should have on safety glasses. Now, when it's bright outside, okay, one of the biggest things we see is people just wearing their regular sunglasses, assuming that they're safety glasses. Not all sunglasses are safety glasses. Not all prescription glasses are safety glasses. Only if they're specifically rated, and they'll say their rating on the frame. If they're Z87, they're an ANSI Z87 rating, that will let you know if the lenses that are included on those glasses are safety glasses. If they're not, you shouldn't be wearing your safety glasses and thinking you shouldn't be wearing your sunglasses thinking they're safety glasses. Okay, so take a look at that. Take a look at your personal protective equipment in the inventory. Has your body changed since the last time you put on this piece of equipment? Have you lost weight over the winter time? Like you got looking good for bathing suit season, right? And now you're going to go out and put on your PPE that doesn't fit anymore because you lost a bunch of weight. Okay, so take a look at that. Make sure all of your personal protective equipment fits correctly and you're wearing the personal protective equipment as it's been intended and that you need to wear in order to perform these specific job duties, especially your sunglasses. Take a look at the sunglasses because we all want to wear our sunglasses when we're outside, when it's bright. I just told you at the beginning to wear your sunglasses. Now, if you're going to wear them when you're working, right, when you're working with tools and lawn care and things like that, make sure that those are safety glasses. Make sure they're Z87 rated. And if they're not, wear your safety glasses in lieu of those sunglasses. Okay. Our roads, our roads and our sidewalks, man, they took a beating this last winter, right? With all the snow scraping we did, with all of the changes in weather, with the chemicals and the salt that we put on the roads and the sidewalks to keep them free from ice. Okay, they took a beating. Okay, there's a lot of potholes now. There's cracking in your roads and your sidewalks. There's settling that's occurred because of the erosion now that's coming off of the mountains. Jason showed me a picture of his backyard the other day where he's got a creek that's running through and it's just eating away at the road, at the area on the side of the road there. Okay, erosion is going to be a huge problem that we've got to tackle this time of year, especially as we get all this runoff coming. So with your weathered surfaces, if you can see it, things like potholes, cracking, sidewalks, make a note of it. Make sure that that's noted, and then you then have a plan in place to fill the potholes, to get the sidewalks, the cracks in the sidewalks and the spalling corrected. A good sidewalk inspection program is a huge thing, and we encourage you to have a good sidewalk inspection program. If you don't have something like that, or you need some guidance on that, get with Jason and I. We're happy to share some resources with you that we have around a sidewalk protection program. I mean, these are huge liabilities for us in our cities, in our counties, in our service districts. Please make sure you're taking care of your sidewalks, not just the roads with the potholes, but the sidewalks with the cracks and the lifting of the cement. Make sure that you're walking those and make sure that you're getting out and having a good inventory of what you have going on. So you have a nice punch list to go through. What about signage and labeling, right? So if when we're doing all that snow removal and scraping the snow off the road, did we remove some paint for where a crosswalk was, where we painted stop on the ground, where we painted a speed limit sign for a school zone? Okay, so if we've put some signage in there, if we've got labels on, can you still see those things? Do we need to replace those? Do we need to repaint? Do we need to restripe? Okay, take a look. And again, as you're doing your inventory of your sidewalks and your roads, do the same inventory on your signage and labels. Make sure if there's anything weathered or missing that you're making notes of that, and that you're getting those things repaired as soon as possible. So not only you can stay safe, but the community at large can stay safe. Well, let's talk for a second about parks and playgrounds. My kids, this was the first time, I mean, yesterday was the first time they said, Dad, can we go to the park in months? Or they haven't asked to go to the park in months. But now they wanted to go to the park. And I'm more than happy to get them outside and get them out of the screen and get them out, out of the house. So took them to the park. One of the first things I noticed was we're walking along and the bleachers, just like in this photo here, the bleachers were there was cracks and there was boards that were uneven just because they've been hammered this summer or this winter, excuse me. So taking a good inventory, and if you have a certified playground safety inspector on staff, this is where they come into play really, really nicely. Okay, take them around and go through an inventory of your parks. Do a nice walkthrough and making sure you're doing your annual audits of your park and your playground. Is there any damage or missing components? Is your fill still at an adequate depth to attenuate the fall? Okay, making sure that if you're using wood chips, are they still in the places that you need them to be? Do you need to do some raking? Do you need to bring in some backfill? Okay, what do you need to do to get the parks and your playgrounds up to the standard that you need them to be at, so that the kids, when they're out there playing, that they stay safe? Now, this is something Jason and I are more than happy to help out with. If you want us to come out and help with the park inspection and walk through with you and your team, so you can get a sense of kind of what we look at from our perspective as CPSIs and as the trust, we're happy to do that for you. Just get in touch with us, and we're happy to schedule some time with you to come out and do some training with you and some walkarounds with you on that. Okay. With our weather here in Utah, I mean, one of the best things you can do is download a weather app. Have a weather application on your phone, because our temperatures and our seasons, they change so rapidly, right? There's that old saying here in Utah: if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes and it'll change. That is especially true here in the springtime. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was snow on the ground still. We were getting snow just a couple of weeks ago, and now it's like 90 degrees outside. So the temperature really changes, and the conditions can change from day to day, from hour to hour, sometimes from minute to minute. So make sure you dress for success, right? Have a jacket in the car. Wear long pants when you're performing work outside, but really consider downloading that weather application so you can better prepare yourself for what's going to come. Sun safety is a huge thing. Sun is just as intense as in April and in May as it is in July. So that means you got to take breaks, right? You got to take breaks, get out of the sun, seek the shade. I mean, especially if you have clear skin like I do, right? Make sure you seek shade. Make sure you use sunscreen. Okay, sunscreen your arms, back of your neck, your ears. Okay, make sure you get a good douse of sunscreen on yourself, and drink plenty of water. I know it's hard, right? Sometimes it's hard to drink water, but make sure you're doing that. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water, and that you're hydrating yourself. It's going to be 90 degrees outside today. If you're out working and you're getting thirsty, you've waited too long to drink. Okay. If you're starting to get thirsty, you're dehydrated already. You need to drink water so you're not thirsty anymore. Okay. So when you start to get thirsty, you're already dehydrated. Make sure you're drinking a lot of water when you're outside working in the sun. Insects are out, right? They're out this time of year. I was out this morning, taking a run this morning, and I've got like mosquito bites on my legs already. They're out here. They're ready to suck your blood, and they're ready to be a nuisance. So let's protect ourselves from those insects and vegetation by using a good insect repellent when we're outside. Wearing long sleeves, I know it's hot. I know it's sometimes uncomfortable, but wearing long sleeves and long pants, wearing gloves, it's going to protect you not only from the sun, but it'll protect you from insects and insect bites. So as you're out working in that long grass and those bushes and things that haven't seen treatment in the last 6 or 7 months, and now you got to go out there and tame the beast. Okay, let's protect yourself. Wear some insect repellent, long sleeves, gloves, and making sure that you just keep yourself protected from the sun and from the little critters that are going to be out there trying to suck your blood. So here in the springtime, let's just take an active role in our safety. Let's just make sure that we know what we're getting into. Get your body ready. Drink lots of water and be committed to having a safe culture, right? Be committed to wearing your personal protective equipment and really setting yourself up for a summer of success rather than a summer of hurt.
Awesome, Mike. Thank you very much. Folks, if you have any questions, please type those into the chat box right now, and we'll play Stump the Dummy and see what we can come up with Mike. See if he can answer all of those. Yeah, it's kind of a stark change this year where we're going from such a long drawn out winter to suddenly summer-like conditions. Wow. I know I've remembered a couple of those lessons recently too, just with failure to apply appropriate amounts of sunscreen.
Right.
So, all right, I'm just looking here to see if we have any questions, and I got nothing. Man, I tried hard.
All right, folks. Well, we tried.
Final word, Mike.
Just set yourself up now. So, like I said, to have a successful summer. Look at your PPEs. That's a very important thing to look at this time of year. Your sunglasses are not always safety glasses. There you go.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it. Hey, folks, go out and have a safe day.